Hello everyone, welcome to my channel where we are going to discuss about the Trump tariffs, how it is going to affect India, whether we are going to be exporting less, whether we will have lower GDP growth projections, and the main question whether we will have a trade deal with the US after all. To take you back in history, the goods trade started increasing around 1980s. However, services trade only caught up in volume in the early 2000s. Traditionally, the trade theorists and international trade economists have often believed that free trade is going to be beneficial for all economies. Why? First, the consumers would benefit in two ways. That is, they will have access to cheaper goods. Second, they will have access to more variety of goods. However, there is a certain section which are the producers who might not be very happy about free trades. Why? Because now they have to compete with cheaper imports. If they are too big, that is, if the producers are too big, they will go and probably lobby with the government to get some markup on the global price to protect their interests. Now, after this establishment of WTO in the 1995, we have seen that the tariffs have significantly gone down. To give you some statistics from UNCTAD, the tariffs have decreased from 13% to 7% from 1999 to 2022. However, during the same time, non-tariff barriers or NTBs have increased significantly from 53.4% to 71.9%. Now you might be wondering, what are NTBs? NTBs are basically any kind of barriers which are not tariffs. As the name suggests, they can be in the form of sanitary or phytosanitary restrictions, they can be in terms of voluntary export restrictions or regulations, that is, they're going to set a quota that we're not going to import beyond this quantity. They can also be in terms of technology standards, they can be in terms of environmental standards, and many more. They can take multiple shapes and forms. You might also recall that India had to liberalize, that is, the liberalization, privatization and globalization reforms of 1991. And what was the pretext, if you may recall, was that Indian economy was termed inefficient. Now, how did we overcome this inefficiency? By opening up our economy. That is, we will allow free trades of goods and capital from our economy and trade with the global world. Now, just to set a context, that we have established that free trade is typically good. Now, why did Trump impose tariffs? That should be the main question of today's discussion. To answer this, I would take a two-part approach. First, Trump imposed tariffs primarily because of the widening and rising trade deficits in America. What are trade deficits? Trade deficits occur when your exports are significantly lower than your imports, that you're importing too much and you're exporting very little. To again give you some numbers and statistics, in the first quarter of 2000, the trade deficit gap in the US was $381 billion. Again, the first quarter of 2025, this year, the trade deficit in the US was $1,374 billion with the global economy. As you can see, it has increased almost fourfolds. Now, how is it impacting the American economy? Because they are first importing too much, they are giving too much money abroad. Second, they are not creating enough employment, and that brings to the second point. As you might recall, during presidential campaigns, election campaigns, President Trump again and again campaigned about something called as Make America Great Again, which is the MAGA campaign. And he promised to give more employment in the Americans to the Native Americans. Coming back to our context, we would say that tariffs would not only reduce trade deficit, it would also increase more American jobs, because more production will take place in America, because you are going to reduce your reliance on other economies. This is the end of part 1. To follow me for part 2, where we are going to discuss more about how the tariffs were calculated and how will India be affected from the tariffs. Stay tuned for part 2.